Hello, and welcome to a gentle journey through the sleepy history of ancient Egypt, where the Nile whispers secrets older than time. As you settle into your cozy space tonight, dim the lights, let your pillow cradle your thoughts, and imagine a soft breeze carrying you toward a riverbank veiled in moonlight. Let your mind drift, like a papyrus boat gliding on the Nile's calm waters, free from the day's worries, ready to explore mysteries buried in golden sands. Take a slow, deep breath, and feel your shoulders soften, your heart ease, as the world fades into a soothing hum. Picture yourself under a starlit sky, the same stars that watched Pharaoh's dream, their secrets waiting to unfold. There's no rush, no need to hold on, just let the story carry you, like the river itself, toward a place of rest and wonder. Pause for ambient music, a gentle ripple of water sounds. Now, as you relax, we begin where it all started, with the Nile's eternal flow, a lifeline weaving through the desert's heart. Picture the Nile, a shimmering ribbon winding through the endless sands of Egypt, its waters catching the starlight like a mirror to the heavens. In the quiet of night, its gentle ripples lap against the banks, a soft, rhythmic whisper that seems to hum an ancient lullaby, inviting you to let your thoughts drift and dissolve. The river is Egypt's lifeblood, a steady pulse nourishing a land where the sun reigns fierce and unforgiving, yet, here's the irony, it's a muddy, unpredictable force, sometimes swelling with chaos, sometimes shrinking to a trickle, as if teasing the people who depend on it. For millennia, its flow has shaped a civilization, coaxing life from the desert, its silt-rich floods painting the valley green with promise, a gift that feels almost divine in its reliability, yet wild in its whims. Feel the coolness of the air along its banks, the faint scent of damp earth rising as you imagine standing there, bare feet sinking into soft mud, the world around you hushed save for the water's murmur. Pause for ambient music, a soft ripple of water and distant bird calls. This river, eternal yet ever-changing, was no mere backdrop, it was the heartbeat of ancient Egypt, drawing wanderers to its shores long before pyramids pierced the sky. Its waters carried fish, fed reeds for papyrus, and whispered of permanence in a land of scorching days and fleeting rains. But don't be fooled by its serenity, the Nile could be a trickster, its floods a gamble that could bring bounty or ruin, a reminder that even in its calm, it held power no one could tame. As you let your mind float along its current, imagine the first people who saw this river not as a challenge, but as a promise, a place to rest, to grow, to dream under the same stars you imagine now. Their lives, simple yet resilient, began to take root here, their footsteps marking the start of a story that would echo through centuries. Pause for a gentle chime, fading into silence. And so, as we drift further into this tale, we follow those early settlers, drawn to the Nile's banks, where the seeds of a great civilization were quietly sown. As you drift along the Nile's gentle current, imagine a time long before pharaohs or pyramids, around 6000 BCE, when the river's banks were home to scattered bands of wanderers, their lives woven into the rhythm of its flow. Picture a quiet evening, the sky a soft indigo, as small groups huddle near the water, their hands crafting tools from flint and bone, each strike of stone against stone a steady beat, like a heartbeat of a world just waking. These early people, resilient in their simplicity, lived by the Nile's grace, fishing its waters with nets and hooks, surprisingly, older than the pyramids themselves, delicate creations that snared life from the river's depths. Their world was one of mud and reeds, of campfires flickering under stars, where survival meant listening to the river's whispers and learning its moods. Feel the stillness of their nights, the air warm and heavy, carrying the faint buzz of insects and the lap of water against woven baskets. Pause for ambient music, soft rustling of reeds and distant water sounds. These were not grand builders yet, but patient gatherers, men and women who speared fish, collected wild grains, and shaped clay into crude pots, their lives a quiet dance with the land. The Nile, ever generous yet unpredictable, offered fish like tilapia and catfish, their silvery bodies glinting in the shallows, a bounty that sustained small camps along the fertile banks. But life was no idle. Droughts could shrink the river, floods could sweep away shelters, and each day tested their resolve, a resilience that hums through their story like a soothing lullaby. There's a gentle wonder in imagining their tools, a sharpened stone, worn smooth by hands long gone, or a fishhook carved from bone, so small yet so clever, a testament to minds that saw possibility in the raw world. Pause for a soft chime, fading into silence. These people didn't dream of monuments, they dreamed of full bell stomachs, of another day under the Nile's watchful gaze. Their simplicity feels distant yet familiar, a reminder of humanity's quiet strength, pulling you deeper into a restful haze. As you linger here, the story flows toward a new chapter, where these wanderers begin to plant seeds, taming the land and birthing the first farming communities along the river's edge. Imagine the Nile's banks around 4000 BCE, where the air hums with the scent of damp earth and the first green shoots of a new way of life. The river, ever faithful, spills its silt across the valley, painting the desert with patches of lush fields, where early settlers kneel, their hands pressing barley and emmer wheat seeds into the soft mud, a quiet act of hope under a sky that stretches endless and blue. These people, once wanderers chasing the Nile's bounty, now anchor themselves to its rhythm, learning to coax life from the land, grains to grind, flax to weave, and goats to herd, their bleats mingling with the river's gentle lap. Yet, in a wry twist, this dawn of agriculture is no gentle idle, it's a grind under a relentless sun, where backs bend and sweat soaks through tunics, each harvest a gamble against flood or drought. Picture a village taking shape, mud brick huts huddled near the water, their roofs woven from reeds that sway in the breeze, casting shadows that dance like whispers of rest. Pause for ambient music, soft rustling of leaves and distant goat calls. These early farmers, with calloused hands and patient hearts, domesticate not just crops but a new way of being, taming wild grasses into fields of gold and herding animals that once roamed free. The Nile's floods, unpredictable yet generous, dictate their calendar, sow when the waters recede, pray when they rise too high, and celebrate when baskets overflow with grain. Their lives are a cycle of toil and triumph, a soothing rhythm that pulls you deeper into a dreamlike haze, as if you're watching their fields ripple under moonlight. There's a quiet magic in their resilience, a subtle surprise in how these simple acts, planting a seed, guiding a plow, laid the foundation for a civilization that would touch the stars. Pause for a gentle chime, fading into silence. But life wasn't all labor, they gathered under palm trees, sharing stories of the river's moods, their laughter a soft echo in the night. Their communities grew, not just in size but in ambition, as surplus grain meant more hands, more huts, and more dreams of something greater. As you drift along this tale, the Nile's current carries us forward, to a time when these scattered villages begin to weave together, their hopes uniting under a single ruler, Menes, who would forge Egypt's first kingdom. As you settle deeper into the gentle embrace of the Nile's story, imagine the world around 3100 BCE, where the river's banks hum with the quiet ambition of a people ready to become something greater. The villages, once scattered like stars along the water, now pulse with whispers of unity, their mud brick homes glowing under a moon that has seen centuries pass. Enter Menes, a figure draped in legend, perhaps a myth, perhaps a man, said to be the first to weave Upper and Lower Egypt into one kingdom, a single thread binding the lotus and papyrus lands. His tale, told in a soothing cadence, blends fact with the dreamlike haze of ancient lore, where kings argued not with words but with spears, a wry reminder that even in unity, power was carved with sharp edges. Picture the Nile at dusk, its waters reflecting a sky bruised purple, as Menes, whether a lone hero or a symbol of many chiefs, stands at the river's edge, his gaze fixed on a horizon where two lands might become one. Pause for ambient music, soft ripples and distant chants. The story whispers of his conquest, or perhaps his diplomacy, uniting the red deserts of Upper Egypt with the fertile delta of the Lower, a marriage of regions sealed by the Narmer palette, a stone etched with scenes of triumph, cattle, captives, and a king wielding a mace. This unification, whether by battle or bargain, feels like a tide turning, a moment when the Nile's people chose order over chaos, their villages knitting into a kingdom that would outlast the stars. The hypnotic rhythm of the tale lulls you, yet there's a gentle spark of humor in imagining ancient politics, meetings not in halls, but in dust, with bronze blades glinting under the sun. Menes, or whoever he was, is said to have founded Memphis, a city cradled by the Nile, its white walls rising like a promise of permanence amidst the shifting sands. Pause for a soft chime, fading into silence. The people, once bound to their fields, now look to a king who wore the double crown, red for the desert, white for the delta, a symbol of balance that feels almost poetic in its simplicity. Their resilience shines through, a quiet strength in trading spears for shared dreams, in building canals to tame the Nile's floods, and in laying the first stones of a civilization that would echo through time. As you drift in this serene narrative, the weight of daily worries slips away, carried off by the river's flow. The dawn of a new era beckons, where Menes' legacy paves the way for the Old Kingdom's monumental achievements, a time of pyramids and power waiting just beyond the horizon. As you drift further along the Nile's timeless current, let your mind settle into the embrace of ancient Egypt's Old Kingdom, a golden age from around 2686 to 2181 BCE, where the desert bloomed with order and ambition under a sky that seemed to hold its breath. Picture the city of Memphis, its whitewashed walls gleaming like polished bone in the dawn light, a hub where pharaohs ruled as living gods, their decrees as steady as the river's flow, guiding a people united by faith and labor. The Old Kingdom, often called the Age of the Pyramids, was a time of stability, where the Nile's floods were harnessed, fields flourished, and stone was shaped into monuments that would defy time itself. Yet, in a whisper of mystery, the secrets of how these massive structures were built, lost to the sands, tease the imagination, a subtle spark that invites curiosity without breaking the soothing spell of this tale. Feel the rhythm of daily life in this era, as farmers rise with the sun, their sickles glinting as they cut barley, while artisans carve hieroglyphs with a precision that feels almost meditative. Pause for ambient music, soft wind across dunes and distant hammering. The pharaohs, like Djoser and Sneferu, were not just kings but architects of eternity, their reigns marked by the rise of pyramids, each one a step closer to the heavens. Djoser's step pyramid at Saqqara, a terraced marvel, was the first to pierce the skyline, its 6 tiers a bold experiment in stone, a testament to a people learning to dream bigger than mud brick. The narrative's gentle cadence lulls you, yet there's a quiet irony in the labor. Thousands toiled under a relentless sun, hauling limestone with ropes and sweat, no coffee breaks, just the promise of a pharaoh's divine favor. This blend of awe and effort captivates history buffs, offering trivia like the pyramid's precise alignment with the stars, a fact that feels like a whispered secret from the past. The Old Kingdom's stability wasn't just in its monuments but in its systems, taxes collected in grain, priests charting the stars, and scribes recording the Nile's moods on papyrus. Pause for a gentle chime, fading into silence. Villages buzzed with purpose, from potters shaping clay to bakers kneading dough, all part of a society that thrived on order, yet never fully tamed the desert's whims. The pharaoh's power, seen as a bridge to the gods, held this world together, his court a tapestry of loyalty and ritual, where even the smallest act, like offering bread to Ma'at, goddess of balance, carried weight. There's a soothing repetition in this cycle of life, work, and worship, pulling you deeper into a restful haze, as if you're watching the Nile's waters ripple under moonlight. But beneath the calm lies a hint of enigma. How did they move stones heavier than elephants, with tools no sharper than bronze? This question, left unanswered, floats like a dream, keeping your mind gently engaged. As you linger in this serene epoch, the Old Kingdom's achievements feel like a foundation, not just for Egypt but for the stories that would follow. The pyramids, silent sentinels, stand as proof of a people's resilience, their labor a quiet song of endurance. Pause for ambient music, soft echoes of stone on stone. The narrative flows forward, carrying you toward the pinnacle of this era, the Great Pyramid of Giza, a monument so grand it seems to hold the weight of eternity itself, waiting just beyond the horizon to unfold its own mysteries. Let your thoughts drift across the golden sands of Giza, where, around 2630 BCE, the Great Pyramid rose like a dream carved in stone, its limestone face glowing under a starlit sky that seems to whisper secrets older than time itself. Imagine standing at its base, the air warm and heavy with the scent of dust and labor, the pyramid's vast silhouette looming, a mountain of human will stretching toward the heavens, so precise it aligns with the stars as if guided by celestial hands. Built for Pharaoh Khufu, this marvel, over 480 feet tall, with 2.3 million stone blocks, stands as the Old Kingdom's crowning achievement, a testament to a civilization that turned sweat and stone into eternity. Yet, beneath its serene grandeur lies a gentle irony. No coffee breaks for the workers, just endless days hauling limestone under a sun that offered no mercy, their efforts a quiet hymn of resilience that lulls you into a peaceful haze. Picture the Giza Plateau at dawn, the Nile's distant shimmer reflecting the first light, as thousands gather, farmers, laborers, artisans, all bound by a shared purpose to build something immortal. Pause for ambient music, soft clinks of chisels and distant murmurs. The blocks, some weighing as much as elephants, were quarried nearby, floated across the river, and dragged up ramps that curled around the pyramid like a spiral of determination. The narrative's soothing rhythm wraps you in calm, describing workers chanting in unison, their ropes taut, their muscles straining, yet there's a wry humor in their plight. Imagine toiling for decades, your only reward a bowl of barley porridge and a fleeting nod from a foreman. History buffs will savor the trivia. The pyramid's base covers 13 acres, its sides aligned to true north with an accuracy modern engineers still marvel at, a precision that feels almost otherworldly, sparking curiosity without breaking the dreamlike flow. But the Great Pyramid's true allure lies in its mysteries, hidden within its stone heart, where chambers and passages tease the imagination like a half-remembered dream. Pause for a gentle chime, fading into silence. The king's chamber, lined with polished granite, holds a simple sarcophagus, empty yet heavy with questions. Was it ever used, or was it a decoy? The grand gallery, a soaring corridor, slopes upward, its purpose unclear, perhaps a path for the pharaoh's soul or a practical space for construction. Then there's the queen's chamber, smaller, unfinished, its niche a puzzle that whispers of rituals lost to time. Modern scans hint at undiscovered voids, secret spaces sealed for millennia, a subtle surprise that stirs the mind without jarring you awake. The narrative's hypnotic tone paints these chambers as silent sentinels, their walls cool and unyielding, inviting you to float through them as if carried by the Nile's current. The workers' lives add a human pulse to this stone saga, their days a cycle of labor and rest, their nights spent in mud brick camps under the same stars that guided their stones. Pause for ambient music, soft wind and faint crackle of campfires. They were not slaves, as myths once claimed, but skilled laborers, fed by the state, their pride etched into every block they placed. Yet, the irony lingers, while they built for eternity, their own lives were fleeting, their names lost to the sands, a poignant contrast that resonates with listeners seeking both knowledge and repose. The pyramid's construction, a marvel of mathematics and muscle, relied on tools as simple as copper chisels and wooden sleds, yet achieved a scale that feels almost impossible, a fact that hums with quiet awe. How did they do it? Theories of ramps, levers, or even lost techniques drift through the narrative, each one a gentle nudge to your curiosity, keeping you tethered to the story as your eyelids grow heavy. As you linger in this tranquil tale, the Great Pyramid stands not just as a monument but as a mirror of human ambition, its stones a testament to a people who looked to the stars and dared to build forever. Pause for a soft chime, fading into silence. The narrative's rhythm, steady as the Nile's flow, carries you deeper into a restful haze, where the weight of the day slips away like sand through your fingers. Yet, the pyramid holds more secrets, its hidden chambers waiting to be explored, their mysteries beckoning like a whisper in the dark, guiding us to the next chapter of this ancient story. As you float deeper into the serene tale of the Great Pyramid, imagine standing within its shadowed heart, where the air is cool and heavy, the silence thick with secrets older than the stars above Giza. Around 2630 BCE, this monument was sealed, its limestone walls guarding chambers that whisper of mysteries yet to be unraveled, their purpose as elusive as a dream half-remembered upon waking. The king's chamber, with its stark granite sarcophagus, feels like a solemn pause in the pyramid's story, while the grand gallery's soaring arches stretch upward, a path to nowhere, or perhaps somewhere still hidden. In a dreamy tone that lulls you like the Nile's gentle ripples, the narrative invites you to wander these passages, where every stone seems to hold a breath, teasing the possibility of chambers undiscovered, secrets buried in the dark. Picture the pyramid under moonlight, its surface smooth and pale, a silent giant that has stood for millennia, yet holds spaces no one has seen since Khufu's time. Pause for ambient music, soft echoes of stone and distant wind. The queen's chamber, smaller and unfinished, sits below, its niche carved with a purpose lost to time, perhaps for offerings, perhaps for a queen who never rested there. Modern scans, a subtle surprise that stirs the mind without breaking the calm, have revealed voids behind the walls, vast spaces detected by cosmic rays, hinting at rooms untouched for over 4,000 years. These findings, shared in hushed tones, spark curiosity among history buffs, yet the narrative keeps its soothing rhythm, describing the voids as if they're dreams within the stone, waiting patiently for explorers to find them. The idea of hidden chambers, possibly filled with treasures or rituals, floats like a whisper, engaging without jarring you from the restful haze. The pyramid's mysteries extend beyond its architecture, weaving into the lives of those who built it, their knowledge a puzzle as intricate as the structure itself. Pause for a gentle chime, fading into silence. How did they align the pyramid so precisely with the stars? Why leave chambers sealed, their entrances disguised by tons of stone? Some theorize these spaces held sacred relics, others suggest they were decoys to fool tomb robbers, whose greed was as predictable as the Nile's floods. The narrative's hypnotic cadence paints these questions as soft ripples in your mind, each one a gentle nudge that keeps you tethered to the story without pulling you from sleep's edge. There's a quiet irony here. While we marvel at the pyramid's grandeur, its builders left no blueprints, only Lilig, no trace of their methods, only questions that echo through the centuries, a subtle contrast that resonates with listeners seeking both knowledge and repose. Imagine the priests and architects, their voices lost to time, planning these hidden spaces under flickering torchlight, their intentions as obscure as the desert night. Pause for ambient music, faint whispers of ancient chants. The Great Pyramid's air vents, narrow shafts piercing its walls, point to the stars, Orion, Sirius, suggesting a cosmic purpose, perhaps guiding Khufu's soul to the heavens. Yet, the hidden voids remain a mystery, their existence confirmed but their contents unknown, a fact that feels like a secret shared in a dream. The narrative lingers on this enigma, its soothing tone wrapping you in a sense of timeless wonder, as if you're drifting through the pyramid's corridors yourself, the weight of the world slipping away. For insomniacs, this gentle intrigue is perfect, a distraction that calms rather than excites, with rhythmic phrasing that mirrors the Nile's flow. The pyramid's enduring silence contrasts with its loud legacy, a monument that speaks without words, its mysteries a testament to a civilization's audacity and faith. Pause for a soft chime, fading into silence. Yet, even as the Old Kingdom reached its zenith with this marvel, cracks were forming in its foundation, resources dwindled, power shifted, and chaos loomed. The narrative's tranquil flow carries you forward, like a boat on the Nile, toward the story of the Old Kingdom's decline, where stability gives way to turmoil, and the pyramid stands as a silent witness to a fading golden age. As you glide deeper into the soothing current of Egypt's story, imagine the Nile's banks around 2181 BCE, where the once steady pulse of the Old Kingdom falters, giving way to the First Intermediate Period, a time of fracture and flux that stretches until about 2055 BCE. Picture the river at twilight, its waters reflecting a sky heavy with uncertainty, as the unified kingdom splinters into rival domains, each ruled by nomarchs, local lords who, in a wry twist, preferred arguing with swords over sharing the Nile's bounty. The narrative, soft and rhythmic like the lapping of waves, frames this chaos not as collapse but as a cycle of resilience, a moment when Egypt's people, weathered by hardship, clung to the river's promise like a lifeline. This gentle tone wraps you in calm, inviting you to drift through a time of turmoil with the assurance that order, like the Nile's floods, would return. Feel the quiet weight of this era, where Memphis's gleaming walls fade into shadow, and villages huddle closer to the river, their mud brick homes battered by drought and division. Pause for ambient music, soft winds, and distant clatter of spears. The pharaoh's divine authority wanes, their once mighty decrees now whispers lost in the desert wind, as nomarchs in cities like Heracleopolis and Thebes vie for power, their petty wars a stark contrast to the pyramid's silent grandeur. Yet, there's a light irony in their squabbles. Imagine these lords, puffed up with ambition, squabbling over scraps of land while the Nile flows on, indifferent to their egos. For history buffs, the narrative offers trivia. Texts like the Admonitions of Epure paint a vivid picture of famine and unrest, yet also hint at the people's enduring spirit, a fact that resonates with listeners seeking both knowledge and repose. The First Intermediate Period wasn't just chaos, it was a crucible, forging resilience in the face of scarcity. Pause for a gentle chime, fading into silence. Farmers still sowed their fields, though floods failed and granaries emptied. Artisans carved amulets for protection, their hands steady despite the uncertainty. The narrative's hypnotic cadence lulls you, describing women weaving flax under starlight, children playing in the dust, and priests offering prayers to gods who seemed momentarily distracted. There's a subtle surprise in how culture persisted. Local rulers built modest tombs, not pyramids, their art simpler but no less heartfelt, a testament to a people who refused to let their story end. This resilience, like the Nile's quiet persistence, pulls you deeper into a restful haze, as if you're watching the river's flow from a distant, peaceful shore. Imagine the villages at night, campfires flickering as elders tell tales of better days, their voices a soft counterpoint to the chaos, weaving hope into the fabric of survival. Pause for ambient music, faint echoes of chants and rustling palms. The nomarchs' feuds, though fierce, couldn't dim the people's connection to the land. Farmers adapted to erratic floods, traders bartered grain for copper, and communities banded together, their lives a quiet rebellion against despair. The narrative's soothing rhythm carries a touch of humor. Picture a local lord, crowned with self-importance, tripped up by a sandal in the mud, a reminder that even in chaos, life had its absurdities. For insomniacs, this blend of struggle and spirit is a perfect distraction, engaging the mind with gentle intrigue while easing it towards sleep. As you linger in this tranquil tale, the First Intermediate Period feels like a pause, not an end, a moment when Egypt caught its breath before rising again. Pause for a soft chime, fading into silence. The Nile, ever patient, continued to flow, its waters a promise of renewal, whispering to the people of a time when unity would return. The narrative flows forward, carrying you like a papyrus boat toward the Middle Kingdom's reunification, where a new leader, Mentuhotep II, would gather the scattered threads of Egypt and weave them into a golden age once more. As you drift along the Nile's tranquil current, let your mind settle into the Middle Kingdom, a golden age from around 2055 to 1650 BCE, where Egypt's scattered pieces wove back together, blooming like lotus flowers under a gentle sun. Picture the river at dawn, its waters shimmering with promise, as the city of Thebes rises, its temples and markets bustling with traders carrying ivory, gold, and incense, their voices blending into a soft hum that feels like a lullaby. Under pharaohs like Mentuhotep II and Senusret III, Egypt found stability, its fields lush with barley and flax, its artisans carving statues that glowed in the desert light, each creation a testament to a people reborn. Yet, in a quiet chuckle, the narrative notes the rise of bureaucracy, scribes scribbling endlessly on papyrus, their ink-stained fingers proof that even in a golden age, paperwork could be a pharaoh's true rival. Imagine a village along the Nile, mud brick homes nestled among palm trees, their roofs catching the morning mist as farmers lead oxen to fields, the air rich with the scent of fresh earth. Pause for ambient music, soft rustling of reeds and distant market chatter. The Middle Kingdom's prosperity wasn't just in wealth but in order. Irrigation canals tamed the Nile's floods, granaries brimmed with grain, and trade routes stretched to Nubia and the Levant, bringing turquoise and cedar to a land hungry for beauty. The narrative's soothing rhythm wraps you in calm, describing merchants bartering under shaded awnings, their scales tipping with the weight of trust, while a gentle irony lingers. Imagine a scribe, proud of his title, tripping over his own scrolls in a rush to please the vizier. For history buffs, the trivia captivates. The Tale of Sinew, a literary gem, was penned in this era, its verses echoing the pride of a unified Egypt. The Middle Kingdom's art flourished, with serene statues of pharaohs gazing into eternity, their faces carved with a calm that mirrors the narrative's hypnotic tone. Pause for a gentle chime, fading into silence. Temples rose at Karnak, their columns etched with stories of divine favor, while nobles built rock-cut tombs in cliffs, simpler than pyramids but no less heartfelt, their walls painted with scenes of harvests and feasts. The people, from potters to priests, moved with purpose, their lives a quiet dance of stability, yet the narrative hints at a subtle surprise. Egypt's wealth attracted envious eyes, a whisper of tension beneath the calm. This era saw the rise of fortified towns, like Buhan in Nubia, a nod to strength amid prosperity, engaging listeners without breaking the restful spell. Picture a family at dusk, gathered around a flickering oil lamp, sharing bread and beer, their laughter a soft echo against the Nile's flow. Pause for ambient music, faint clinks of pottery and distant laughter. The Middle Kingdom's stability fostered not just trade but culture. Schools trained scribes, poets sang of pharaohs, and jewelers crafted amulets of lapis lazuli, each piece a small prayer for eternity. The narrative's rhythmic pacing lulls you, yet there's a light humor in the bureaucracy's sprawl. Imagine a farmer, taxed twice by mistake, shaking his head at a scribe's error, a relatable moment that resonates with modern listeners. For insomniacs, this blend of serenity and subtle wit is a perfect distraction, easing the mind towards sleep while keeping it gently tethered to the story. As you linger in this tranquil epic, the Middle Kingdom feels like a deep breath, a time when Egypt's heart beat strong, its people united under the Nile's watchful gaze. Pause for a soft chime, fading into silence. But even golden ages cast shadows, and whispers of outsiders, fierce and unfamiliar, began to drift across the desert. The narrative flows forward, like the river itself, toward the mysterious arrival of the Hyksos, whose invasion would test Egypt's newfound strength, carrying you gently into the next chapter of this ancient tale. As you drift deeper into the soothing embrace of Egypt's tale, let your mind wander to around 1650 BCE, when the Nile's steady rhythm falters under the shadow of strangers known as the Hyksos, their arrival a quiet ripple that grows into a wave of change. Picture the delta at twilight, its marshes whispering with reeds, as foreign chariots roll in, their wheels creaking under a sky heavy with uncertainty, bringing a people whose origins, Asia, perhaps, or some uncharted land, remain a mystery that hums like a half-forgotten dream. The narrative, soft and hypnotic, paints the Hyksos not as conquerors but as enigmas, their bronze weapons and horse-drawn carts a stark contrast to Egypt's ox plows, yet their influence weaves into the fabric of the land, a puzzle that captivates without breaking the calm. This era, known as the Second Intermediate Period, feels like a pause in Egypt's heartbeat, its gentle tone lulling you as it hints at secrets buried in the sands. Imagine a village in the Nile Delta, its mud brick homes bathed in the glow of a setting sun, as locals watched these newcomers settle in Avaris, their capital, building walls of a style unfamiliar, their language a murmur of foreign tones. Pause for ambient music, soft clatter of hooves and distant whispers. The Hyksos, meaning rulers of foreign lands, brought innovations, chariots, composite bows, new pottery, that reshaped Egypt's ways, yet their origins spark intrigue. Were they Canaanites, driven by trade, or nomads from further east, chasing power? This mysterious twist, left unanswered, stirs curiosity for history buffs, its gentle phrasing keeping the mind engaged without jarring you from repose. The narrative's rhythmic flow describes their rule, not as a brutal conquest but a slow blending, where Egyptian scribes adopted their tools, and locals traded grain for bronze, a quiet resilience that echoes through the story. The Hyksos' presence wasn't a storm but a shift, their kings adopting Egyptian titles, even worshipping Seth, the storm god, as if claiming a piece of the Nile's soul. Pause for a gentle chime, fading into silence. Picture a market in Avaris, where Egyptian farmers barter with Hyksos traders, their stalls piled with fish and flax, the air thick with the scent of baked bread and foreign spices. The narrative's soothing cadence lulls you, yet there's a subtle irony in this cultural dance. Imagine an Egyptian priest, grumbling under his breath, copying Hyksos script onto papyrus, a nod to the absurdity of adapting to outsiders while clinging to tradition. For insomniacs, this blend of mystery and familiarity is a perfect distraction, easing racing thoughts with a tale that feels like a journey through a dreamlike haze, where the unknown is as comforting as the known. The Hyksos ruled the north for a century, their forts rising along the delta's edge, while Thebes in the south simmered with defiance, its princes plotting under starlit skies. Pause for ambient music, faint echoes of war drums and rustling palms. The narrative paints their reign as a balance of power and adaptation, with Egyptian artisans crafting amulets alongside Hyksos daggers, a testament to a people who bent but never broke. The mystery of their origins, perhaps from the Levant, perhaps beyond, lingers like a whisper, engaging without overwhelming, as the narrative's gentle rhythm carries you forward. The Hyksos influence, though foreign, sowed seeds of change, strengthening Egypt's resolve to reclaim its unity. As you linger in this tranquil tale, the Nile's flow remains steady, a reminder of resilience amid upheaval. The story now shifts, like the river turning a bend, toward the south, where Theban princes sharpen their spears, their eyes fixed on liberation. Pause for a soft chime, fading into silence. The Hyksos enigma, with its blend of innovation and intrusion, sets the stage for Egypt's resurgence, a time when the new kingdom would rise, its people forging a path of resistance and renewal under the Nile's watchful gaze, carrying you gently into the next chapter of this ancient saga. As you glide gently along the Nile's soothing current, let your mind drift to the new kingdom, a radiant era from around 1550 to 1070 BCE, where Egypt rose from the Hyksos shadow like a lotus breaking through the water's surface, its power shimmering under a starlit sky. Picture Thebes, the heart of this reborn kingdom, its temples glowing with torchlight, their sandstone walls etched with tales of conquest and divine favor, while the Nile reflects a city alive with purpose. The new kingdom was an age of military might and monumental splendor, where pharaohs led armies to Nubia and the Levant, their chariots thundering across deserts, yet the narrative's hypnotic tone wraps these triumphs in calm, describing battles as distant echoes, like waves lapping softly against the shore. In a quiet chuckle, the story notes the pharaohs' egos, each one carving their name larger than the last, as if stone could outshine the gods themselves, a light touch of irony that keeps you gently engaged. Imagine a morning in Thebes, the air thick with the scent of incense and baked bread, as soldiers polish bronze spears and priests chant to Ammonius Are, their voices blending into a rhythm that lulls you deeper into repose. Pause for ambient music, soft chants and distant clatter of armor. The new kingdom's power stemmed from its armies, now armed with Hyksos-inspired chariots and bows, sweeping through foreign lands to secure gold and tribute, their victories etched on temple walls in vivid reliefs of charging horses and fallen foes. The narrative's soothing cadence paints these campaigns with a serene brush, focusing on the order they brought. Trade routes flourished, bringing ebony and frankincense to markets where merchants haggled under palm shades. For history buffs, the trivia captivates. Pharaoh Ahmose I expelled the Hyksos, founding the 18th dynasty, a fact delivered with a calm that invites curiosity without breaking the dreamlike flow. The New Kingdom wasn't just about conquest, it was a time of creation, with temples rising at Karnak and Luxor, their columns towering like stone forests, each one a prayer to eternity. Pause for a gentle chime, fading into silence. Picture artisans chiseling hieroglyphs by lamplight, their tools tapping a steady rhythm, while nobles adorned with gold strolled through courtyards, their confidence a reflection of Egypt's strength. The narrative's tranquil tone lingers on these scenes, yet there's a subtle irony in the pharaoh's obsession with grandeur. Imagine a king, draped in jewels, insisting his statue be taller than his father's, a human quirk that resonates with listeners seeking both knowledge and a smile. This era saw Egypt's wealth soar, with Nubian gold filling treasuries and diplomatic letters, written on clay tablets, forging ties with distant Mitanni, a detail that adds depth for those drifting toward sleep. Feel the pulse of daily life, where families gathered at dusk, sharing meals of fish and dates, their homes warmed by oil lamps that flickered like stars against the Nile's dark mirror. Pause for ambient music, faint laughter and rustling reeds. The New Kingdom's stability fostered art and innovation. Painters adorned tombs with scenes of banquets, scribes penned hymns, and engineers built obelisks that pierced the sky, each act a testament to a people who believed their world would last forever. The narrative's rhythmic pacing soothes, yet a gentle surprise emerges. The Amarna letters, diplomatic correspondences found centuries later, reveal Egypt as a global power, a fact that stirs curiosity without jarring you awake. For insomniacs, this blend of grandeur and humanity is a perfect distraction, easing the mind into a restful haze while keeping it tethered to the story. As you linger in this tranquil epic, the New Kingdom stands as a beacon of Egypt's resilience, its temples and armies a testament to a people who reclaimed their destiny. Pause for a soft chime, fading into silence. But among these warrior kings, one ruler would redefine power with quiet audacity, a woman who wore the pharaoh's crown. The narrative flows forward, like the Nile turning a bend, toward the groundbreaking reign of Hatshepsut, whose vision and courage would leave an indelible mark on Egypt's golden age. As you float gently along the Nile's timeless current, let your mind drift to the reign of Hatshepsut, from around 1479 to 1458 BCE, a woman who wore the pharaoh's double crown and reshaped Egypt with a vision as steady as the river itself. Picture Thebes at dawn, its temples bathed in golden light, their sandstone walls glowing with stories of a ruler who defied tradition, her name whispered like a breeze through palm fronds, carrying awe and quiet power. The narrative, soft and hypnotic, paints Hatshepsut's rule as a quiet revolution, her trade expeditions to Punt bringing back myrrh and ebony, while her reign fostered peace and prosperity, a serene contrast to the warrior kings before her. Yet, in a gentle surprise that stirs the mind without breaking the calm, her legacy was nearly erased, her statues shattered and name chiseled away, a mystery that lingers like a shadow on the Nile, inviting curiosity as you sink deeper into repose. Imagine standing before her mortuary temple at Deir el-Bahri, its terraces carved into cliffs, a marvel of symmetry that seems to rise from the earth like a dream. Pause for ambient music, soft echoes of chisels and distant chants. Hatshepsut, initially regent for young Thutmose III, claimed the throne herself, donning the pharaoh's beard and titles, her image carved as both king and queen, a bold act wrapped in the narrative's soothing tone. Her expeditions to Punt, a fabled land of incense and gold, saw ships sail down the Red Sea, returning with treasures that filled Thebes' markets, ivory, leopard skins, and trees whose roots perfumed the air. For history buffs, the trivia captivates. Reliefs on her temple depict these voyages, a rare glimpse into ancient trade, delivered with a rhythm that lulls you, as if you're swaying on those ships under a starlit sky. The narrative's tranquil flow lingers on her achievements, describing obelisks raised at Karnak, their granite tips gleaming like needles threading the heavens to earth. Pause for a gentle chime, fading into silence. Hatshepsut's Egypt was a land of abundance, with granaries full and artisans crafting jewelry of turquoise and gold, their work a testament to a reign that valued creation over conquest. Yet, there's a light irony in her story. Imagine advisors, skeptical of a female pharaoh, muttering in palace halls, only to be silenced by her success, a relatable human touch that resonates with listeners. The narrative's hypnotic cadence paints her as a ruler who balanced strength and serenity, her policies fostering trade and art while keeping war at bay, a fact that soothes insomniacs seeking a distraction as calming as the Nile's ripples. But the mystery of her legacy adds a subtle twist, like a whisper in the dark. Pause for ambient music, faint rustling of papyrus and distant wind. After her death, her name was struck from records, her statues toppled, perhaps by Thutmose III or later kings eager to claim her glory, a puzzle that history buffs ponder. Jealousy, politics, or tradition's weight? The narrative keeps this intrigue gentle, describing her temple's defaced reliefs as silent scars, their beauty enduring despite the chisel's work. This erased legacy, a quiet enigma, engages without jarring, pulling you deeper into a restful haze as you imagine her story carved in stone, only to be hidden by time. Her reign, though, left Egypt richer, its temples grander, its people bound by a shared pride that hums through the narrative like a lullaby. Picture a night in Thebes, families gathered under palm-thatched roofs, sharing tales of their pharaoh's voyages, their oil lamps casting shadows that dance like memories. Pause for a soft chime, fading into silence. Hatshepsut's rule was a bridge between Egypt's past and future, her innovations, like planting punce myrrh trees in temple gardens, a symbol of growth that feels almost poetic. The narrative's soothing rhythm wraps you in calm, yet the faint irony of her erased name adds a human touch. Imagine her, a pharaoh who sailed to distant lands, yet couldn't secure her place in stone. For insomniacs, this blend of awe and mystery is a perfect companion, easing racing thoughts while keeping the mind gently tethered to the story. As you linger in this tranquil epic, Hatshepsut's reign shines like a beacon of resilience and vision, her legacy a whisper that endures despite attempts to silence it. Pause for ambient music, soft echoes of waves and distant flutes. The Nile flows on, carrying Egypt toward a new chapter, where her stepson, Thutmose III, would take the throne, his conquests forging a path of military might that would echo across the ancient world, guiding you gently into the next part of this timeless saga. As you drift deeper into the gentle flow of Egypt's story, let your mind settle into the reign of Thutmose III, from around 1458 to 1425 BCE, a pharaoh whose name echoes like a distant drum across the sands of time. Picture the Nile at dusk, its waters catching the last light, as Thebes hums with the clatter of chariots and the sharpening of bronze spears, preparing for campaigns that would stretch Egypt's reach to its zenith. The narrative, soft and reflective, softens the intensity of his battles, describing them as ripples in the Nile's steady current, while his conquests in Nubia and the Levant weave a tale of ambition tempered by a soothing tone that lulls you into repose. Yet, in a wry nod to human nature, the story notes the endlessness of war. Kings chasing glory, their armies marching on, as if peace were a dream just out of reach, a relatable irony that keeps you gently engaged. Imagine a morning in Thebes, the air alive with the scent of cedar and dust, as Thutmose III, once overshadowed by Hatshepsut, emerges as Egypt's warrior king, his chariots thundering toward distant lands. Pause for ambient music, soft hoofbeats and faint war cries. Known as the Napoleon of Egypt, he led 17 campaigns, his armies crossing the Euphrates to face Mitanni, their victories carved on Karnak's walls in vivid reliefs of charging horses and captured foes. The narrative's hypnotic cadence paints these battles with a serene brush, focusing on their aftermath. Tribute flowing into Egypt, gold and grain-filling treasuries, markets bustling with exotic goods like lapis lazuli and ivory. For history buffs, the trivia captivates. His annals, inscribed at Karnak, detail 20 years of conquests, a record of precision that feels almost modern, delivered in a rhythm that soothes like the Nile's gentle lap. Thutmose's Egypt was a land of power, its borders stretching further than ever, yet the narrative lingers on the human cost, describing soldiers returning to families, their armor dented but spirits high. Pause for a gentle chime, fading into silence. Temples rose higher, adorned with spoils, while scribes recorded victories on papyrus, their ink tracing a legacy meant to outlast the desert sands. There's a subtle irony in the relentless march of war. Imagine Thutmose, hailed as a god, yet pacing his palace, planning yet another campaign, as if conquest could fill the heart as grain-filled granaries. This human touch resonates with listeners, blending awe with relatability, while the narrative's tranquil tone keeps insomniacs drifting towards sleep, their minds eased by the story's steady flow. Picture a village along the Nile, its people gathered at twilight, sharing tales of their pharaoh's triumphs, their oil lamps casting shadows that dance like memories of distant battles. Pause for ambient music, faint clinks of pottery and rustling palms. Thutmose's reign wasn't just about war, it fostered trade and art, with obelisks shipped to far-off cities and tombs painted with scenes of abundance. The narrative's soothing rhythm highlights his strategic genius, his crossing of the Euphrates at Carchemish, a daring move that stunned rivals, yet frames it as a quiet triumph, a moment of brilliance in a world of chaos. A gentle surprise emerges, his mummy, found centuries later, revealed a man of modest stature, a contrast to his towering legacy, engaging the mind without breaking the restful haze. The new kingdom under Thutmose III was a tapestry of strength and splendor, its people united by pride in their far-reaching empire. Pause for a soft chime, fading into silence. Yet, even as Egypt stood at its peak, the seeds of change were sown, as later rulers would turn from conquest to faith. The narrative flows forward, like the Nile bending through the desert, toward the reign of Akhenaten, whose radical vision would shake Egypt's foundations, guiding you gently into a new chapter where religion, not war, would redefine the land. As you drift deeper into the tranquil embrace of Egypt's saga, let your mind wander to the reign of Akhenaten, from around 1353 to 1336 BCE, a pharaoh whose vision shimmered like a mirage across the Nile's timeless waters. Picture the desert under a blazing sun, where a new city, Amarna, rises from the sands, its temples open to the sky, dedicated not to Ammonius or Osiris but to the Aten, the sun disk, a radical shift that feels like a dream breaking through the haze of tradition. The narrative, soft and dreamy, frames Akhenaten's monotheistic revolution as a bold leap, his worship of one god reshaping Egypt's ancient faith, yet wraps this upheaval in a soothing tone, as if the Nile itself murmurs approval. In a quiet mystery that stirs the mind without jarring, his city, built with fervor, abandoned in haste, lies silent, its ruins a puzzle that captivates, pulling you gently into a restful haze. Imagine Amarna at dawn, its whitewashed walls glowing, as Akhenaten, with his elongated features and serene gaze, walks among priests chanting hymns to the Aten, their voices rising like the sun itself. Pause for ambient music, soft strums of a harp and distant chants. This pharaoh, once called Amenhotep IV, discarded centuries of gods for one, declaring the Aten supreme, a move that shocked priests and nobles alike, their whispers of heresy muffled by his conviction. The narrative's hypnotic cadence paints his reforms with a serene brush, describing temples without roofs, where sunlight poured like a divine embrace, and art that captured life, children playing, lilies blooming, in a style softer, more human than before. For history buffs, the trivia enchants, Akhenaten's hymns to the Aten, etched in tombs, echo poetic devotion, a fact delivered with a rhythm that lulls you, as if you're basking in Amarna's golden light. The new kingdom wasn't just about conquest, it was a time of creation, with temples rising at Karnak and Luxor, their columns towering like stone forests, each one a prayer to eternity. Pause for a gentle chime, fading into silence. Picture artisans chiseling hieroglyphs by lamplight, their tools tapping a steady rhythm, while nobles adorned with gold strolled through courtyards, their confidence a reflection of Egypt's strength. The narrative's tranquil tone lingers on these scenes, yet there's a subtle irony in the pharaoh's obsession with grandeur. Imagine a king, draped in jewels, insisting his statue be taller than his father's, a human quirk that resonates with listeners seeking both knowledge and a smile. This era saw Egypt's wealth soar, with Nubian gold filling treasuries and diplomatic letters, written on clay tablets, forging ties with distant Mitanni, a detail that adds depth for those drifting toward sleep. Feel the pulse of daily life, where families gathered at dusk, sharing meals of fish and dates, their homes warmed by oil lamps that flickered like stars against the Nile's dark mirror. Pause for ambient music, faint laughter and rustling reeds. The New Kingdom's stability fostered art and innovation. Painters adorned tombs with scenes of banquets, scribes penned hymns, and engineers built obelisks that pierced the sky, each act a testament to a people who believed their world would last forever. The narrative's rhythmic pacing soothes, yet a gentle surprise emerges. The Amarna letters, diplomatic correspondences found centuries later, reveal Egypt as a global power, a fact that stirs curiosity without jarring you awake. For insomniacs, this blend of grandeur and humanity is a perfect distraction, easing the mind into a restful haze while keeping it tethered to the story. As you linger in this tranquil epic, the New Kingdom stands as a beacon of Egypt's resilience, its temples and armies a testament to a people who reclaimed their destiny. Pause for a soft chime, fading into silence. But among these warrior kings, one ruler would redefine power with quiet audacity, a woman who wore the pharaoh's crown. The narrative flows forward, like the Nile turning a bend, toward the groundbreaking reign of Hatshepsut, whose vision and courage would leave an indelible mark on Egypt's golden age. As you float gently along the Nile's timeless current, let your mind drift to the reign of Hatshepsut, from around 1479 to 1458 BCE, a woman who wore the pharaoh's double crown and reshaped Egypt with a vision as steady as the river itself. Picture Thebes at dawn, its temples bathed in golden light, their sandstone walls glowing with stories of a ruler who defied tradition, her name whispered like a breeze through palm fronds, carrying awe and quiet power. The narrative, soft and hypnotic, paints Hatshepsut's rule as a quiet revolution, her trade expeditions to Punt bringing back myrrh and ebony, while her reign fostered peace and prosperity, a serene contrast to the warrior kings before her. Yet, in a gentle surprise that stirs the mind without breaking the calm, her legacy was nearly erased, her statues shattered and name chiseled away, a mystery that lingers like a shadow on the Nile, inviting curiosity as you sink deeper into repose. Imagine standing before her mortuary temple at Deir el-Bahri, its terraces carved into cliffs, a marvel of symmetry that seems to rise from the earth like a dream. Pause for ambient music, soft echoes of chisels and distant chants. Hatshepsut, initially regent for young Thutmose III, claimed the throne herself, donning the pharaoh's beard and titles, her image carved as both king and queen, a bold act wrapped in the narrative's soothing tone. Her expeditions to Punt, a fabled land of incense and gold, saw ships sail down the Red Sea, returning with treasures that filled Thebes' markets, ivory, leopard skins, and trees whose roots perfumed the air. For history buffs, the trivia captivates. Reliefs on her temple depict these voyages, a rare glimpse into ancient trade, delivered with a rhythm that lulls you, as if you're swaying on those ships under a starlit sky. The narrative's tranquil flow lingers on her achievements, describing obelisks raised at Karnak, their granite tips gleaming like needles threading the heavens to earth. Pause for a gentle chime, fading into silence. Hatshepsut's Egypt was a land of abundance, with granaries full and artisans crafting jewelry of turquoise and gold, their work a testament to a reign that valued creation over conquest. Yet, there's a light irony in her story. imagine advisors, skeptical of a female pharaoh, muttering in palace halls, only to be silenced by her success, a relatable human touch that resonates with listeners. The narrative's hypnotic cadence paints her as a ruler who balanced strength and serenity, her policies fostering trade and art while keeping war at bay, a fact that soothes insomniacs seeking a distraction as calming as the Nile's ripples. But the mystery of her legacy adds a subtle twist, like a whisper in the dark. Pause for ambient music, faint rustling of papyrus and distant wind. After her death, her name was struck from records, her statues toppled, perhaps by Thutmose III or later kings eager to claim her glory, a puzzle that history buffs ponder: jealousy, politics, or tradition's weight? The narrative keeps this intrigue gentle, describing her temple's defaced reliefs as silent scars, their beauty enduring despite the chisel's work. This erased legacy, a quiet enigma, engages without jarring, pulling you deeper into a restful haze as you imagine her story carved in stone, only to be hidden by time. Her reign, though, left Egypt richer, its temples grander, its people bound by a shared pride that hums through the narrative like a lullaby. Picture a night in Thebes, families gathered under palm-thatched roofs, sharing tales of their pharaoh's voyages, their oil lamps casting shadows that dance like memories. Pause for a soft chime, fading into silence. Hatshepsut's rule was a bridge between Egypt's past and future, her innovations, like planting punts myrrh trees in temple gardens, a symbol of growth that feels almost poetic. The narrative's soothing rhythm wraps you in calm, yet the faint irony of her erased name adds a human touch. Imagine her, a pharaoh who sailed to distant lands, yet couldn't secure her place in stone. For insomniacs, this blend of awe and mystery is a perfect companion, easing racing thoughts while keeping the mind gently tethered to the story. Yet, this revolution came at a cost, its serenity masking tension, as traditional priests lost power and temples to Ammonius stood empty. Pause for a gentle chime, fading into silence. Picture the people of Amarna, their daily lives a blend of devotion and uncertainty, as they crafted pottery under open skies or offered prayers to a god they barely understood. The narrative's soothing tone lingers on Akhenaten's family, his queen, Nefertiti, her iconic bust a symbol of this era's beauty, yet there's a light irony in his radicalism. Imagine priests, clutching old rituals, muttering as they adapted to a pharaoh who saw divinity in sunlight alone. This human touch resonates with listeners, blending awe with relatability, while the narrative's tranquil flow keeps insomniacs drifting towards sleep, their minds eased by the story's gentle sway. The mystery of Amarna's abandonment adds a subtle twist, like a whisper carried on the desert wind. Pause for ambient music, faint rustling of sand and distant footsteps. After Akhenaten's death, his city was deserted, its houses left to crumble, its temples reclaimed by sand, as if Egypt itself rejected his vision. Why was it abandoned so swiftly? Was it resistance from priests, economic strain, or a people's longing for familiar gods? The narrative keeps this enigma soft, describing Amarna's ruins as a silent dream, their half-buried statues gazing at stars that outlasted Akhenaten's faith. For insomniacs, this gentle intrigue is a perfect distraction, engaging without overwhelming, as the narrative's rhythmic phrasing mirrors the Nile's steady flow, easing racing thoughts into a restful haze. Picture a night in Amarna, families gathered under palm shades, their oil lamps flickering as they spoke of their pharaoh's strange new god, their voices a soft hum against the desert's silence. Pause for a soft chime, fading into silence. Akhenaten's reign, though brief, left echoes, his art, his hymns, his audacity, a legacy that feels like a fleeting vision, both revolutionary and fragile. The narrative's dreamy tone wraps you in calm, yet the mystery of Amarna's fall stirs curiosity, a quiet spark that keeps you tethered to the story. As Egypt turned from his radical path, a young king would rise to restore the old ways, his name whispered in the shadows of Amarna's ruins. The narrative flows forward, like the Nile gliding through the night, toward the brief reign of Tutankhamun, whose restoration would heal a divided land. As you glide deeper into the soothing current of Egypt's story, let your mind drift to the brief reign of Tutankhamun, from around 1332 to 1323 BCE, a young pharaoh whose name flickers like a candle in the vast darkness of history. Picture the Nile at twilight, its waters mirroring a sky soft with stars, as Thebes hums quietly, its people turning from Akhenaten's radical sun worship back to the old gods, guided by a boy king barely 10 years old. The narrative, wrapped in a calming tone, lingers on the discovery of his tomb in 1922, a treasure-filled chamber that captivated the world, its golden mask gleaming like a dream unearthed from the sands. Yet, in a gentle surprise that stirs curiosity without breaking the serene flow, his sudden death at 19 remains a mystery, accident, illness, or foul play, a whisper that pulls you deeper into a restful haze. Imagine the Valley of the Kings, its cliffs silent under moonlight, where Tutankhamun's tomb, hidden for millennia, was uncovered by Howard Carter, its entrance sealed with a promise of eternity. Pause for ambient music, soft echoes of footsteps and distant sand shifting. The narrative paints this discovery with tranquil strokes, golden coffins, jeweled scarabs, and chariots stacked for a pharaoh's afterlife, each artifact a testament to a reign cut short but never forgotten. Tutankhamun, once called Tutankhaten, restored Ammonius temples, moving Egypt back to its ancient faiths, his advisors steering a fragile kingdom toward stability. For history buffs, the trivia captivates. His tomb, KV 62, was small compared to others, likely due to his early death, yet its untouched riches made it a global sensation, delivered in a rhythm that lulls you like the Nile's gentle lap. The young king's life was a fleeting moment, yet his impact lingers like a star that burns bright but brief. Pause for a gentle chime, fading into silence. Picture him in Thebes, a boy with a golden scepter, walking palace halls lined with priests and nobles, their whispers shaping his decrees. The narrative's soothing cadence describes his efforts to heal Egypt's divisions, reopening temples, rebuilding trust, yet there's a light irony in his youth. Imagine a child pharaoh, guided by advisors, signing orders he barely understood, a relatable human touch that resonates with listeners. His reign, though short, brought peace, with festivals honoring Ammonius and markets bustling once more, a fact that soothes insomniacs, easing their minds into a dreamlike state. The mystery of his death adds a subtle spark, like a ripple in the Nile's calm surface. Pause for ambient music, faint rustling of papyrus and distant flutes. Found in his tomb, his mummy showed a fractured leg and signs of infection, hinting at a fall or disease, yet some whisper of poison or betrayal, a puzzle unsolved by time. The narrative keeps this intrigue soft, framing his passing as a quiet exit, his soul perhaps joining the gods he restored, a thought that feels like a sigh of release. For insomniacs, this gentle mystery is a perfect distraction, engaging without overwhelming, as the narrative's rhythmic phrasing mirrors the river's flow, carrying you toward sleep. Picture a night in Thebes, families gathered under palm roofs, their oil lamps casting shadows as they spoke of their young king, his name a symbol of renewal. Pause for a soft chime, fading into silence. Tutankhamun's tomb, with its gilded shrines and lotus-shaped cups, tells a story of a people who believed in eternity, even for a boy who ruled so briefly. The narrative's tranquil tone wraps you in calm, yet the irony of his fame, known more for his tomb than his deeds, adds a human touch, keeping you tethered to the story. As Egypt mourned, new pharaohs rose, their ambitions building on his restoration. The narrative flows forward, like the Nile under starlight, toward the Ramesside era, where powerful kings like Ramesses II would carry Egypt's glory to new heights, their monuments echoing Tutankhamun's fleeting reign in the sands of time. As you glide deeper into the gentle embrace of Egypt's timeless tale, let your mind drift to the reign of Ramesses II, from around 1279 to 1213 BCE, a pharaoh whose name shines like the sun over the Nile's shimmering waters. Picture the river at dawn, its banks glowing with the golden light of a kingdom at its peak, where monuments rise like dreams carved in stone, their grandeur a testament to a ruler who lived for nearly a century. The narrative, soft and serene, paints Ramesses II's long reign as a tapestry of power and splendor, with temples like Abu Simbel standing sentinel, their colossal statues gazing across the desert as if guarding eternity itself. Yet, in a quiet chuckle that keeps you gently engaged, the story notes his love for statues, hundreds bearing his likeness, as if he feared the Nile might forget his name, a subtle irony that adds a human touch to his towering legacy. Imagine standing before Abu Simbel, its 4 giant statues of Ramesses carved into a cliff, their serene faces catching the first light, while the Nile murmurs nearby, a soothing backdrop to a reign that spanned 66 years. Pause for ambient music, soft echoes of chisels and distant water. Known as Ramesses the Great, he led Egypt through an age of prosperity, signing the world's first recorded peace treaty with the Hittites after the Battle of Kadesh, a clash immortalized on temple walls in vivid reliefs of charging chariots and heroic poses. The narrative's hypnotic cadence wraps these triumphs in calm, describing his diplomatic skill as a dance of words, not swords, while history buffs savor the trivia. The treaty, etched on clay tablets, was a masterpiece of ancient diplomacy, preserved in both Egypt and Hittite lands. The story's rhythm lulls you, as if you're drifting on a boat under starlit skies, the weight of the day slipping away. Ramesses' Egypt was a land of creation, where temples at Luxor and Karnak grew grander, their columns rising like stone forests, each one etched with his name. Pause for a gentle chime, fading into silence. Picture artisans laboring by torchlight, their hands shaping statues and obelisks, while scribes recorded his deeds on papyrus, their ink a testament to a pharaoh who saw himself as eternal. The narrative's tranquil tone lingers on these scenes, yet there's a light irony in his excess. Imagine Ramesses, with over 100 children and countless monuments, insisting on yet another statue, as if one more could secure immortality. This human quirk resonates with listeners, blending awe with relatability, while the soothing flow keeps insomniacs tethered to a restful haze, their minds eased by the story's gentle sway. The narrative drifts to daily life, where families along the Nile gathered at dusk, sharing bread and beer, their homes warmed by oil lamps that flickered like stars against the river's dark mirror. Pause for ambient music, faint laughter and rustling reeds. Ramesses' reign brought wealth, gold from Nubia, trade with Punt, markets brimming with spices and linen, yet his monuments, like the Ramesseum, were as much for glory as for gods. The narrative's rhythmic pacing paints a serene picture of workers hauling stone, their chants echoing across the desert, while a subtle surprise emerges. His mummy, found centuries later, showed a man with red hair, a rare trait that sparks curiosity without breaking the calm. For insomniacs, this blend of grandeur and humanity is a perfect distraction, easing racing thoughts while keeping the mind gently engaged. Picture a festival in Thebes, crowds chanting Ramesses' name as boats adorned with lotus flowers glide down the Nile, their sails catching the breeze like wings of a dream. Pause for a soft chime, fading into silence. His reign, though mighty, wasn't without flaws. His boasts of Kadesh's victory stretched the truth, a fact that adds a wry smile to the narrative, as if even pharaohs couldn't resist a good story. The narrative's soothing tone wraps you in calm, describing his legacy as a river that shaped Egypt's soul, its monuments standing as silent witnesses to a golden age. Yet, even this grandeur carried seeds of decline, as resources dwindled and rivals eyed Egypt's wealth. As you linger in this tranquil epoch, Ramesses II's reign feels like a high note in Egypt's symphony, his monuments a testament to a people who dreamed of forever. Pause for ambient music, soft echoes of drums and distant flutes. The Nile flows on, but the horizon darkens, carrying the story toward the new kingdom's decline, where challenges would test Egypt's strength, guiding you gently into the next chapter of this ancient saga. As you drift gently along the Nile's soothing current, let your mind settle into the twilight of the New Kingdom, around 1070 BCE, when Egypt's golden age begins to fade like a sunset over the desert's endless sands. Picture Thebes under a heavy sky, its once vibrant temples dimmed by dust, their torchlight flickering as the kingdom's strength wanes, a cycle of collapse woven into the river's eternal rhythm. The narrative, soft and reflective, frames this decline as a natural ebb, a moment of rebirth waiting in the shadows, while invaders, Libyans, sea peoples, sweep in like storms, their chaos a stark contrast to Egypt's order. Yet, in a wry nod to human folly, the story notes the invaders' fleeting triumphs, conquering a land only to squabble over its spoils, a relatable irony that keeps you gently tethered to this tranquil tale. Imagine a village along the Nile, its mud brick homes huddled close to the water, as families whisper of distant battles, their oil lamps casting shadows that dance like memories of Ramesses II's grandeur. Pause for ambient music, soft rustling of reeds and distant war cries. The new kingdom's fall was not a single blow but a slow unraveling, resources drained by wars, granaries emptied by drought, and pharaohs weakened by internal strife, their divine aura fading like a worn papyrus. The Sea Peoples, a mysterious coalition from across the Mediterranean, struck with ferocity, their ships raiding the delta, while Libyan tribes pressed from the west, each wave eroding Egypt's might. For history buffs, the trivia captivates. Ramesses III's inscriptions at Medinet Habu describe these battles, a desperate stand against chaos, delivered in a soothing rhythm that lulls you, as if you're watching the Nile's ripples under starlight. The narrative's hypnotic tone lingers on the resilience of Egypt's people, who, despite turmoil, still sowed fields and prayed to Ammonius, their faith a quiet anchor in the storm. Pause for a gentle chime, fading into silence. Picture priests in darkened temples, their chants unbroken, while farmers adapted to shrinking harvests, their sickles glinting under a merciless sun. There's a light irony in the invaders' chaos. Imagine a Libyan chief, proud of his plunder, tripping over a stolen statue in the dark, a human quirk that resonates with listeners seeking both knowledge and a smile. The narrative's calming flow keeps insomniacs drifting towards sleep, easing racing thoughts with a tale that frames collapse as a chapter, not an end, its rhythm mirroring the Nile's steady pulse. The decline saw power shift from Thebes to the delta, where new dynasties rose, their kings struggling to hold a fractured land. Pause for ambient music, faint echoes of crumbling stone and distant shouts. Tombs in the Valley of the Kings, once sacred, were looted, their treasures scattered, yet artisans still carved amulets, and scribes recorded the chaos, their work a testament to a people who refused to fade. A subtle surprise emerges. Ramesses III, the last great new kingdom pharaoh, faced a harem conspiracy, a plot to kill him that whispers of betrayal, engaging the mind without breaking the restful haze. For insomniacs, this blend of turmoil and tenacity is a perfect distraction, offering gentle intrigue as the narrative's soothing cadence carries you like a papyrus boat on the river. Picture a night along the Nile, families gathered under palm roofs, their voices soft as they spoke of better days, their hope a quiet defiance against the encroaching dark. Pause for a soft chime, fading into silence. The new kingdom's fall was a turning point, its monuments enduring as silent witnesses to a people's strength, even as invaders left their mark. The narrative's tranquil tone wraps you in calm, yet the irony of fleeting conquests, outsiders claiming a land they couldn't hold, adds a relatable touch, keeping you tethered to the story. As Egypt's light dimmed, new powers stirred, ready to reshape the land's destiny. The narrative flows forward, like the Nile under a crescent moon, toward the third intermediate period, where fragmentation would test Egypt's spirit, guiding you gently into a new chapter of this ancient saga. As you drift gently along the Nile's soothing current, let your mind wander to the third intermediate period, from around 1070 to 664 BCE, a time when Egypt's once unified heartbeat splinters into a mosaic of rival powers, like stars scattered across a twilight sky. Picture the river's banks, their villages hushed under a crescent moon, as Thebes and the Delta drift apart, each ruled by local lords and foreign chiefs, their ambitions flickering like oil lamps in the desert night. The narrative, soft and hypnotic, frames this fragmentation as a cycle of resilience, where Egypt's people, though divided, cling to the Nile's promise, their lives a quiet testament to endurance. Yet, in a gentle surprise that stirs curiosity without breaking the calm, Libyan pharaohs, outsiders from the western deserts, rise to rule, their braided beards and foreign names a puzzle that captivates, pulling you deeper into a restful haze. Imagine a settlement near Memphis, its mud brick homes nestled among reeds, where families gather at dusk, their voices soft as they speak of shifting powers, their faith in the old gods unwavering despite the chaos. Pause for ambient music, faint rustling of palm fronds and distant chants. The Third Intermediate Period saw Egypt split between northern dynasties in Tanis and southern priests in Thebes, with Libyan chieftains, like Shoshenkai, claiming the pharaoh's throne, their rule blending foreign vigor with Egyptian tradition. The narrative's soothing rhythm paints this era with tranquil strokes, describing temples still lit by offerings, while a light irony emerges. Imagine a Libyan king, draped in pharaoh's gold, stumbling over Egyptian rituals, a relatable quirk that resonates with listeners. For history buffs, the trivia in chants, Shoshenq's raid on Jerusalem, noted in biblical texts, ties Egypt to distant lands, a fact delivered in a cadence that lulls like the Nile's gentle lap. The period's fragmentation wasn't just political, it was a tapestry of local lives, where farmers sowed fields despite erratic floods, and artisans crafted amulets under flickering lamps. Pause for a gentle chime, fading into silence. Picture a market in the delta, traders bartering fish and linen, their stalls a hub of resilience amid uncertainty, as scribes recorded taxes for kings who ruled in name only. The narrative's hypnotic tone lingers on this endurance, yet the surprise of Libyan pharaohs adds a spark. Descendants of desert nomads, they adopted hieroglyphs and built tombs, their reign a curious blend of outsider and heir. This gentle intrigue keeps insomniacs tethered to the story, easing racing thoughts with a tale that feels like a journey through a dreamlike haze, where division sows seeds of renewal. Feel the rhythm of daily life, where priests in Thebes offered incense to Ammonius, their chants a steady pulse, while northern rulers built modest monuments, their stone etched with hopes of legitimacy. Pause for ambient music, soft clinks of pottery and distant footsteps. The narrative's calming flow describes a people adapting, merchants trading with Phoenicia, weavers spinning flax under starlight, a quiet defiance against fragmentation. The irony of Libyan pharaohs, ruling a land they once raided, adds a human touch, as if history itself chuckled at their audacity. For insomniacs, this blend of resilience and mystery is a perfect distraction, soothing the mind while keeping it gently engaged, as the narrative's rhythm mirrors the Nile's eternal flow. As you linger in this tranquil epoch, the Third Intermediate Period feels like a pause, a breath before Egypt's next awakening, its people holding fast to the river's promise. Pause for a soft chime, fading into silence. The narrative flows forward, like the Nile gliding through the night, toward the Kushite revival, where a new dynasty from the south would rise, their piety and power breathing life into a fractured land, guiding you gently into the next chapter of this ancient saga. As you glide gently along the Nile's soothing current, let your mind drift to the late period, from around 664 to 332 BCE, a time when Egypt's ancient heart beat strong under its last native rulers, their resolve shimmering like starlight on the river's surface. Picture Sais in the delta, its mud brick palaces glowing softly at dusk, as pharaohs like Samtik-I and Amasis strive to reclaim Egypt's glory, there reigns a final stand against the tides of foreign dominion. The narrative, soft and hypnotic, weaves a tale of resilience, framing these rulers as guardians of a legacy that refuses to fade, while a subtle surprise, their brief independence, won through cunning and fleeting alliances, stirs curiosity without breaking the calm. This era, a twilight for native rule, lulls you with its rhythmic cadence, carrying you deeper into a restful haze as it flows toward the arrival of a new conqueror. Imagine a village along the Nile, its homes nestled among reeds, where families gather under palm roofs, their oil lamps casting shadows as they whisper of pharaohs who defied empires. Pause for ambient music, faint rustling of papyrus and distant chants. Psamtik I, rising around 664 BCE, freed Egypt from Assyrian chains, using Greek mercenaries to reclaim the delta, his rule a delicate balance of tradition and innovation. The narrative soothing tone paints a serene picture of temples restored and trade routes bustling, while a light irony emerges. Imagine a pharaoh hiring foreign swords to save Egypt's soul, a quirk that resonates with listeners seeking both knowledge and a smile. For history buffs, the trivia captivates. Sate kings revived art with a nod to Old Kingdom styles, their statues echoing ancient serenity, a fact delivered in a rhythm that mirrors the Nile's gentle lap. The late period's rulers faced a world of shifting powers, their independence a fragile flame in the shadow of Persia's looming empire. Pause for a gentle chime, fading into silence. Picture artisans in Memphis, carving scarabs under starlight, their hands steady despite the threat of invasion, while priests in Heliopolis offered prayers to Ra, their faith a quiet defiance. The narrative's tranquil flow lingers on this resilience, yet the surprise of their brief freedom, Psamtik III's short reign before Persia's return in 525 BCE, adds a spark, a fleeting triumph that engages without jarring the restful haze. For insomniacs, this blend of tenacity and transience is a perfect distraction, easing racing thoughts with a tale that feels like a journey through a dreamlike haze, where Egypt's spirit burns bright even in twilight. Feel the pulse of daily life, where merchants in the delta traded linen and grain with Greeks, their markets alive with the hum of possibility, despite the Persian shadow creeping closer. Pause for ambient music, soft clinks of pottery and distant footsteps. Amasis, a cunning pharaoh, built alliances with distant cities, his navy sailing to Cyprus, a bold move that whispers of Egypt's enduring ambition. The narrative's calming rhythm carries a subtle irony. Picture a king, hailed as divine, haggling with Greek traders for ships, a human touch that keeps listeners tethered to the story. This era saw tombs adorned with vivid reliefs, their scenes of harvests and gods a nod to a past that refused to be forgotten, soothing insomniacs with a narrative as steady as the Nile's flow. As you linger in this tranquil epoch, the late period feels like a final breath of native pride, its pharaohs standing firm against the tide of history, their legacy a whisper in the desert wind. Pause for a soft chime, fading into silence. Yet, the horizon shifts, bringing a new conqueror whose name would echo through time. The narrative flows forward, like the Nile gliding under starlight, toward the arrival of Alexander the Great, whose conquest would weave Egypt into a new world, guiding you gently into the next chapter of this ancient saga. As you drift gently along the Nile's soothing current, let your mind wander to 332 BCE, when Alexander the Great sweeps into Egypt like a breeze across the desert, his arrival marking a new chapter under a starlit sky. Picture Alexandria, the city he founded, its harbor shimmering at dusk, where the Pharos lighthouse would one day rise, its beacon guiding ships through the night like a dream made of stone. The narrative, soft and serene, chronicles Alexander's brief conquest and the Ptolemaic dynasty that followed, Greek rulers who wore the pharaoh's crown, blending Hellenistic ambition with Egypt's ancient soul, while a light irony, Greek pharaohs ruling a land older than their gods, adds a gentle humor that keeps you tethered to this tranquil tale. This era, vibrant yet fleeting, lulls you with its hypnotic rhythm, carrying you toward the reign of a queen whose name would echo through time. Imagine Alexandria's streets, alive with the hum of Greek philosophers and Egyptian priests, their voices mingling as the city grows into a beacon of learning, its library a treasure trove of scrolls. Pause for ambient music, soft waves lapping and distant chatter. Alexander, welcomed as a liberator from Persian rule, was crowned pharaoh in Memphis, his brief stay leaving a legacy that the Ptolemies would shape for centuries. The narrative's calming tone paints Ptolemy I, his successor, as a shrewd general turned king, building a dynasty that fused Greek and Egyptian ways. Temples to Serapis rose beside statues of Zeus. For history buffs, the trivia captivates. The Pharos, one of the seven wonders, stood over 400 feet tall, its fire visible for miles, a fact delivered in a rhythm that soothes like the Nile's gentle flow. The Ptolemies ruled as pharaohs, their Greek heritage a curious contrast to Egypt's traditions, their palaces gleaming with marble yet adorned with hieroglyphs. Pause for a gentle chime, fading into silence. Picture a festival in Alexandria, where locals offer lotus flowers to Isis while Greek poets recite verses, a blend of cultures that feels like a dream woven under starlight. The narrative's tranquil flow lingers on this fusion, yet a subtle irony emerges. Imagine Ptolemy III, crowned as a god, struggling with Egyptian rituals, his Greek accent tripping over sacred chants, a relatable quirk that resonates with listeners. This era saw wealth pour in, with grain ships sailing to Rome and scholars mapping the stars, a vibrancy that soothes insomniacs, easing their minds into a restful haze. Feel the pulse of daily life, where merchants in Alexandria's markets traded papyrus and spices, their stalls buzzing under the lighthouse's watchful glow. Pause for ambient music, faint clinks of coins and rustling sails. The Ptolemies built temples, like Edfu's shrine to Horus, their walls etched with scenes of divine kingship, while their rule brought stability and innovation. Ptolemy II's canal linked the Nile to the Red Sea. The narrative's hypnotic cadence carries a gentle surprise. The library's vast collection, nearly 500,000 scrolls, made Alexandria the world's intellectual heart, a fact that stirs curiosity without breaking the calm. For insomniacs, this blend of grandeur and humanity is a perfect distraction, keeping the mind gently engaged as it drifts toward sleep. Picture a night in Alexandria, families gathered by the harbor, their oil lamps flickering as they share tales of their Greek pharaohs, their lives a bridge between two worlds. Pause for a soft chime, fading into silence. The narrative's soothing tone wraps you in calm, yet the irony of foreign kings adopting Egypt's gods, Ptolemy IV as Dionysus, yet still Horus, adds a wry smile, a human touch that resonates. The Ptolemies' rule, though brilliant, grew fragile, their wealth and ambition drawing Rome's gaze. As you linger in this tranquil epoch, Alexandria's light shines like a beacon, but a new star rises on the horizon, a queen whose cunning would define Egypt's final chapter. The narrative flows forward, like the Nile under moonlight, toward the reign of Cleopatra, whose brilliance and tragedy would weave Egypt into the tapestry of a new world, guiding you gently into the next chapter of this ancient saga. As you glide gently along the Nile's soothing current, let your mind drift to the reign of Cleopatra VII, from around 69 to 30 BCE, a queen whose brilliance shines like a beacon in Egypt's twilight, her name whispered like a breeze across Alexandria's shimmering harbor. Picture the city at dusk, its lighthouse casting a golden glow over marble palaces, where Cleopatra, last of the Ptolemies, rules with a mind as sharp as papyrus and a charm that binds empires. The narrative, soft and reflective, paints her life as a tapestry of intelligence and ambition, weaving alliances with Rome's mightiest, Julius Caesar, then Mark Antony, while a mysterious twist about her death, shrouded in tales of an asp's bite, stirs curiosity without breaking the calm. This final Ptolemaic chapter, vibrant yet tragic, lulls you with its hypnotic rhythm, carrying you deeper into a restful haze as it flows toward Egypt's transformation under Rome. Imagine Alexandria's royal quarter, its halls alive with the scent of myrrh and the murmur of Greek and Egyptian tongues, as Cleopatra, fluent in 9 languages, negotiates with diplomats under starlit skies. Pause for ambient music, soft harp strums and distant waves. Her intelligence was her crown, outshining her throne. She revived Egypt's economy, rebuilt its navy, and played Rome's factions like a lyre, securing grain for her people while charming Caesar with her wit. The narrative's soothing tone highlights her triumphs, like her dramatic arrival in Tarsus, rolled out from a carpet to meet Antony, a scene of theatrical genius that captivates history buffs. Yet, a light irony emerges. Imagine this queen, dazzling Rome's elite, still fretting over Alexandria's grain quotas, a relatable human touch that keeps listeners gently engaged. Cleopatra's reign was a delicate dance, balancing Egypt's independence against Rome's growing shadow, her alliances with Antony forging a dream of a Mediterranean empire. Pause for a gentle chime, fading into silence. Picture her on a golden barge, its purple sails catching the wind, as she sails to Antony, their love a spark that lit both passion and war. The narrative's tranquil flow lingers on their partnership, children born, battles planned, yet notes the cost. Rome's Senate, led by Octavian, saw her as a threat, her ambition a challenge to their power. For insomniacs, this blend of brilliance and drama is a perfect distraction, easing racing thoughts with a tale that feels like a journey through a dreamlike haze, while the rhythmic cadence mirrors the Nile's steady pulse. The mystery of her death adds a subtle spark, like a ripple in the Nile's calm surface. Pause for ambient music, faint rustling of papyrus and distant flutes. In 30 BCE, as Octavian's forces closed in, Cleopatra died in Alexandria, legend claiming she clasped an asp, its venom a final act of defiance, though some whisper of poison or betrayal. The narrative keeps this enigma soft, framing her end as a quiet exit, her legacy sealed in the hearts of her people, a thought that soothes like a sigh of release. For history buffs, the trivia captivates. Her death marked the end of pharaonic Egypt, a fact delivered with. As you glide gently along the Nile's soothing current, let your mind drift to the reign of Cleopatra VII, from around 69 to 30 BCE, a queen whose brilliance shines like a beacon in Egypt's twilight, her name whispered like a breeze across Alexandria's shimmering harbor. Picture the city at dusk, its lighthouse casting a golden glow over marble palaces, where Cleopatra, last of the Ptolemies, rules with a mind as sharp as papyrus and a charm that binds empires. The narrative, soft and reflective, paints her life as a tapestry of intelligence and ambition, weaving alliances with Rome's mightiest, Julius Caesar, then Mark Antony, while a mysterious twist about her death, shrouded in tales of an asp's bite, stirs curiosity without breaking the calm. This final Ptolemaic chapter, vibrant yet tragic, lulls you with its hypnotic rhythm, carrying you deeper into a restful haze as it flows toward Egypt's transformation under Rome. Imagine Alexandria's royal quarter, its halls alive with the scent of myrrh and the murmur of Greek and Egyptian tongues, as Cleopatra, fluent in 9 languages, negotiates with diplomats under starlit skies. Pause for ambient music, soft harp strums and distant waves. Her intelligence was her crown, outshining her throne. She revived Egypt's economy, rebuilt its navy, and played Rome's factions like a lyre, securing grain for her people while charming Caesar with her wit. The narrative's soothing tone highlights her triumphs, like her dramatic arrival in Tarsus, rolled out from a carpet to meet Antony, a scene of theatrical genius that captivates history buffs. Yet, a light irony emerges. Imagine this queen, dazzling Rome's elite, still fretting over Alexandria's grain quotas, a relatable human touch that keeps listeners gently engaged. Cleopatra's reign was a delicate dance, balancing Egypt's independence against Rome's growing shadow, her alliances with Antony forging a dream of a Mediterranean empire. Pause for a gentle chime, fading into silence. Picture her on a golden barge, its purple sails catching the wind, as she sails to Antony, their love a spark that lit both passion and war. The narrative's tranquil flow lingers on their partnership, children born, battles planned, yet notes the cost. Rome's Senate, led by Octavian, saw her as a threat, her ambition a challenge to their power. For insomniacs, this blend of brilliance and drama is a perfect distraction, easing racing thoughts with a tale that feels like a journey through a dreamlike haze, while the rhythmic cadence mirrors the Nile's steady pulse. The mystery of her death adds a subtle spark, like a ripple in the Nile's calm surface. Pause for ambient music, faint rustling of papyrus and distant flutes. In 30 BCE, as Octavian's forces closed in, Cleopatra died in Alexandria, legend claiming she clasped an asp, its venom a final act of defiance, though some whisper of poison or betrayal. The narrative keeps this enigma soft, framing her end as a quiet exit, her legacy sealed in the hearts of her people, a thought that soothes like a sigh of release. For history buffs, the trivia captivates. Her death marked the end of pharaonic Egypt, a fact delivered with a rhythm that lulls you, as if you're watching her final moments under a starlit sky. Picture a night in Alexandria, families gathered by the harbor, their oil lamps flickering as they speak of their queen, her courage a flame that burned bright but brief. Pause for a soft chime, fading into silence. Cleopatra's rule saw Egypt's last stand as a sovereign power, its temples still honoring Isis, its markets bustling with trade until Rome's grip tightened. The narrative's soothing tone wraps you in calm, yet the irony of her fate, a queen who outwitted empires, undone by politics, adds a human touch, keeping you tethered to the story. As her light faded, Egypt's story turned toward a new era under Roman rule. The narrative flows forward, like the Nile under moonlight, toward Roman Egypt's transformation, where the land of pharaohs would become a province of a vast empire, guiding you gently into the next chapter of this ancient saga. As you drift gently along the Nile's soothing current, let your mind settle into the era of Roman Egypt, from 30 BCE to 641 CE, when the land of pharaohs becomes a jewel in Rome's vast empire, its waters shimmering like a dream under a starlit sky. Picture Alexandria's bustling harbor, its lighthouse casting a golden glow over ships laden with grain, the Nile's bounty feeding Rome's hungry masses. The narrative, soft and calming, paints this transformation as a slow tide, where Egypt's ancient soul adapts to Roman rule, its temples still whispering of gods while markets hum with new trade, yet a light humor, Roman bureaucrats drowning in scrolls, their ink-stained fingers chasing taxes, adds a relatable touch that keeps you gently tethered to this tranquil tale. This era, vibrant yet fading, lulls you with its hypnotic rhythm, carrying you deeper into a restful haze as it flows toward the rise of Coptic Egypt. As you linger in this tranquil epoch, Coptic Egypt feels like a beacon of faith, its monasteries and churches a testament to a people who wove a new thread into Egypt's ancient tapestry. Pause for a soft chime, fading into silence. Yet, the horizon shifts, as a new power rises from the south, its banners heralding change. The narrative flows forward, like the Nile gliding under moonlight, toward the Islamic conquest, where a new faith would reshape Egypt's soul, guiding you gently into the next chapter of this timeless saga.